And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The messages of inspiration and hope is proudly brought to you today by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. Our guest today is Rennie Gabriel, and oh my goodness, when he talks about the three secrets that only the wealthy know, I think you may want to take some notes, and also be able to share this show with others. The shows are live, of course, but also they're recorded and they're also on e360tv.com. That's e360tv.com. That's our broadcast studio. And you just simply scroll down to positive vibrations and then go to the right. If that is the right, I can't tell which way is right or left here on the screen, but you'll see messages of inspiration, hope, and support. And the very first one there that you come across will be this show, because they're in a chronological order, fading from the latest to the oldest. And we're so glad that you're here. I'm waiting for the young lady who's going to co-host with me today, Charlene Founts. Charlene she texts me and she says, I'm having trouble with the internet, so understand that. Technology works wonderful until it doesn't work. But anyway, we're going to be bringing Rennie on here in a few minutes, and I was teasing before the show. I says, if Charlene doesn't show up, I says, I may be playing the tambourine, and he's going to be doing some type of the boogaloo or something. I don't know, but we're going to have some fun. But most importantly, Rennie's going to share with you some secrets that you and I really need to know, especially in this day and time of uncertainty when it comes to our finances. But we'll be right back right after this brief message.
Hi, and welcome to the Messages of Inspiration and Hope show that's proudly sponsored by the 6 Minute Webinar. Today we have some exciting and very interesting guests, real people just like you and me. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Now here's Jim.
And we're still having technical difficulty here as far as getting Charlene on the show, but that's okay. Hopefully her internet or whatever it is that's interfering with her signing into the studio will get cleared up. And we just, when she's not here, we miss her. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking about this gentleman, Rennie Gabriel, and let me invite him to the show. Rennie, how are you today, my man?
Hi, Jim. I'm terrific. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. And we were so busy, caught up in the process of, trying to communicate like this to get on the show and all those things. I did not get a chance to even check your banners to make sure I got them in there right. And is that right there? Is that your correct website and all?
Yes, it is.
Good. Now let me check your email address. These are things we normally do before the show starts, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. Is that your email correct there?
Let's see, Rennie at wealthonanyincome.com. Sure enough, it's all spelled correctly.
How about that? Woo. At least I did something right. Huh? Well, wealth on any income. Wow, that's a catchy title, my man, because I've read a little bit about your history and the struggles you went through. And you literally had to lift yourself up from the ashes, so to speak, if you don't mind me putting it like that.
No, that's, I think, a fair description.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the thing I love about having guests like you on the show, you've got skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because some people, they'll go to a webinar, they'll read a book, or, they'll start compiling information. Then they want to talk like they're subject matter experts. And ladies and gentlemen, they've never done it. I like people who have fell down and skinned their knees and say, ouch, that hurt. And this is the Band-Aids we use. This is how we wrapped our knees up. And this is how long it took me to get over it. But look at me, I can walk now. Yeah. That's important, because in your travels too, you probably have seen people that, teach philosophy rather than speak about reality.
Yes. I'm fortunate enough to only have run into a few of those.
Amen.
Most of the people that I have learned from are doing it. And
yes.
Here's an example that I use, because I was just talking to someone earlier today, and I said, I walk my talk. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I teach people at UCLA how to buy and manage apartment buildings for profit.
Mhm.
I tell them how they should be screening tenants, how they should be treating their tenants. Because after all, these are the people who are buying real estate for them.
Mhm.
And through this entire pandemic, I mean, we're already in February,
Oh, yeah.
almost a year from the time we had lockdowns and everything else. And 100% of my tenants have paid 100% of their rent through this entire pandemic.
Wow. There's been people that have been struggling to pay any kind of bills during this pandemic, and that's pretty spectacular because that means all the way around they keep their money flowing because as you very well know, the money in a business is that business life's blood. If it
Oh, yeah,
dries up, the business dies.
exactly.
Mhm.
And so the point being, I treat my tenants the way I teach people to treat their tenants,
Mhm.
and it just pays off beautifully. The
Yeah.
tenants have places to live. I can pay the mortgages and my expenses to live, and the money circulates in the economy.
Good deal. I see your banner back there, wealthonanyincome.com. 100% of profits donated to charity.
Yes. What we're doing is, I say we're raising philanthropists.
Mhm.
We teach people how to handle money powerfully so that they can become philanthropic. And I got to lead by example. Again,
Mhm.
walking my talk.
Right.
I've created a level of passive income that I don't have to work for a living.
Mhm.
And so from this business, I can donate 100% of the profits to the charity. By the way, it's over here called Shelter to Soldier.
Shelter to Soldier. That's .org, is it not?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
sheltertosoldier.org. They rescue dogs from high kill environments and
Mhm.
train them as service animals for soldiers who've come back with PTSD or traumatic brain injuries. And our soldiers with those traumas have
Mhm.
been committing suicide at the rate of almost one an hour,
Oh,
22 a
yeah.
day. And not one who's gotten their service dog has committed suicide. So
Wow.
dogs that would have been euthanized
Mhm.
prevent soldiers from committing suicide. So this charity is saving 2 lives at a time.
Wow, that's really impressive. I did not realize that a service member that's given a dog, that it just really slashes that, you know,
We're not
suicide rate. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about a pet. We're talking
Mhm.
about a trained service animal. It takes
Mhm.
a year to train these dogs, feed them, take care of the vet bills,
Mhm.
house them. And, it's not some dog they go to the pound and just, now you have something to take care of. That's not it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of figured that, but what kind of training goes into a dog like that? I mean, I know there's training for seeing eye dogs and things of this nature, but what kind of specific training or where's just let you explain that because I don't know how to ask the question.
Well, yeah, it's very detailed training, not only from the kinds of things that you might expect, like maybe opening a door, or turning on a light switch, or
Hmm.
something like that, but far more intuitive things that dogs can do.
Mm.
Like, let's say, and I've seen a soldier being interviewed on TV who had a service dog. And in the interview, he was starting to melt down. And the dog, sensing that, jumped up toward his lap and started licking his face to snap him out of it.
Wow.
Another dog, and this is without being trained for this.
Yes.
The soldier was having night terrors. He had traumatic brain injury and he
Hmm.
was screaming and wrestling in bed at night. The dog jumped up on the bed, jumped on his chest, and started pawing at him to wake him up from the night terrors. Not
Mm.
even trained for that.
Mm. You know,
But
that's
now,
amazing.
yeah,
Go ahead.
now that now they do train the dogs for those kinds of things.
Wow. And that's a 24/7 on the spot buddy that they need. That's
Oh,
amazing.
oh yeah, it takes them from being unable to communicate with their family because they stutter so badly, or being homebound, to being able to go to their wife go with their wife to the grocery store, or attend their children's soccer games, where
Mhm.
before they couldn't even leave the house.
Wow. I kind of picked up on what you were saying there because many years ago I had surgery and I was confined to the house
Yeah.
You know, just get up in the morning, take a shower, take my time, and then go over, after I have sit down and eat breakfast, then go over to the day room and lie down on the couch and recuperate. Because that, early on during the early days after the surgery, that was kind of, that's a full day's work there. And I remember my dog, he was a blue heeler, Australian cattle dog, and he came up to me. He sniffed the side of my face. And he went down the left side of my body. And he sniffed the area specifically where I was operated on. He came back up and he licked the side of my face like everything's going to be all right.
Oh,
Now, he certainly wasn't trained to do that. But dogs are very much in tune with what's going on inside your body that even we do not know. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful program. The sheltertosoldier.org. That's a wonderful program, man. That's got. Is there can any dog be trained for that, or is it?
well, they do need to have a certain personality and size. In other words, you're not going to be able to train a Chihuahua to do this kind of work.
Right.
Even if they have the personality, they're just not big enough. So I'd say starting with 40 pounds up and the personality where this dog wants to work. The dog has a purpose in life. It recognizes their purpose, whether it's herding or taking care of someone. And if they've got that personality, they can be trained to do this work. And they're mixed breeds. They're not purebreds. They're not all German Shepherds or Doberman Pinschers. They're pit bull mixes. They're Shepherd mixes. They're Labrador mixes, and they're saving lives.
Yeah, they're just the Heinz 57 varieties we used to call it, whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow. Because deep down inside, they still have the natural instincts of a dog.
Exactly.
And if their personality's there, then it can be, built on. And I promised the folks that we're going to talk about the three keys. And here we're talking about dogs because I'm a dog lover here, and I know you are too. And I mean, being an animal lover, I tell people that, when you have kids and they have a dog or any kind of a pet like that, if you teach them that they got to love the dog, respect the dog, take care of the dog or the pet, whatever it might be, it really helps them develop the type of personality they should have in relationship to others. It really does. And the service dog proves it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they can relate to the service dog, then they can start relating to other people.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, because one thing about the service dog is, I imagine some of I talk to my dogs, sure, hey, you want a treat? Oh yeah. They look at you like, but, the thing being is that, at times in their hour of need, I'm sure they can communicate verbally to that dog and say things that they couldn't say to any other human being. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I know how hard it is to communicate with people when they say, what was it like over there? And I just look at them and it's, don't even ask me that. Don't even go there. Don't even go there with any veteran, anybody that's experienced any kind of trauma. Even nurses in emergency rooms.
Yeah.
Don't ask them what it was like when they brought that person in. My goodness gracious, because that's, if they want you to know or if they want to share that with you, they will tell you at the proper time. But when you put them on a spot like that, you back them into a corner. Same is true with police officers, firemen, because they all see traumatic, things that go on in life. And, just don't do that. I know we all want to know, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's why the National Enquirer sells all those magazines. We've got an inquiring mind.
Yeah, but it's like you said, you're putting someone on the spot, and you got to you need to be respectful of situations like that. In the same way that, if a woman is abused, you're not going to ask her, well, tell me what that was like. Well, if you put someone else if you put yourself in their shoes, you would recognize that's not something they want to talk about necessarily. And, I was very lucky in terms of the Vietnam War. I was in the Naval Reserve. I don't know what your experiences were like, but mine was nothing like people who were crawling through rice paddies. I'm sitting on a ship. I'm eating at a table. I'm taking showers. And friends I went to high school with, if they didn't come home with a colostomy bag,
Yeah.
they might have come home in a body bag.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I had a completely different experience during the Vietnam War than
Mm.
some of the people I went to high school with.
Yeah, I had a buddy, me and him out of high school. We both volunteered to, we know we're going to get drafted. So we volunteered and went down and joined the Air Force. There was a waiting list. Excuse me. And he was able to go in, but I got drafted.
Oh,
And then we met at our 30-year reunion, and he was telling me about his service in the Air Force, how he went to basic training and the advanced individual training, or the, after basic. And then they sent him to England, and he lived on per diem the whole time he was in the Air Force. And I said, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?" I said, "You live like a prince, and I live like a pauper." I mean, I went to Germany for about 2 months. I was on Forger One, but then I got sent back. Got sent to Vietnam. So I tell people I went from the deep freeze to the sauna, and per diem. That really struck me because I was on active duty for about almost a year during Operation Desert Storm, and I was on per diem. That's where it pays for your lodging and your food.
mm-hmm.
And the only receipt you need is for lodging. And I did okay. I mean, I was able to buy clothes on my per diem and everything, because I was very conservative with my money. And like I tell people, if you can't make it on per diem, you got some bad habits.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. But, you were good with your money. And, we're going to talk about the 3 secrets of the wealthy. But one of the things that leads into that is the fact that 90%, that's 90% of the population's been taught nothing about handling money effectively or powerfully. I mean, I'm not going to blame parents. They can't teach what they don't know.
Right.
And teachers can't teach what they've never learned.
Mm-hmm.
But the saddest part is I've interviewed hundreds of certified public accountants about, tell me, in your coursework, did you learn how to do a personal budget or teach your clients how to do a personal budget? Not one of them yet has said yes.
Mm.
Now, I'm certified as a financial planner, and I know that wasn't in my coursework either. So the professionals the public would turn to haven't been taught.
Wow. That's like a friend of mine. He's into financial things, and he asked me a question one time. We were on the radio show, and he says, "Jim," he says, "when you were in high school or in college, did anybody even teach you how to balance a checkbook?" I says, "No." He says, "Well, everybody assumes because you've had math, you're able to do that."
That has nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
I know that because I didn't learn how to balance a checkbook till I was about, 28 years old or something. And I had one of my clients was with the Franchise Tax Board, who did his own tax return. And he was an insurance client of mine. And I said, "I don't know how to balance a checkbook. Would you be willing to show me?" Now, you should be able to go to the bank and they could show you. And I tried that once. And the person working at the bank didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. Something as simple, kind of we could assume it's simple as that, but yet a lot of people, that's a real struggle for. They don't have the education.
Exactly. And it's not provided anywhere in a formal structure. Well, checkbooks are pretty passe now. It's along the lines of buggy whips and wagons. But the point is, whether you're using a debit card, you're using Venmo, you're using PayPal, you still need to do some sort of balancing to see if what you've got is going to cover what you need.
Mm-hmm. And you got to do budgeting too for the upcoming, month
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever.
That's not taught either.
I know. I know. And it's kind of shocking when you stop and think about it, because that's the way you pay your bills. That's the way you buy your groceries. That's the way you do everything. And yet we just, just turn them loose.
Absolutely right. I don't want to say there's any kind of conspiracy, but credit issuers make a fortune off of people who don't know how to handle their money.
Oh yeah. They, like a kid in college goes to college there, and they give them a credit card and say, "Hey,
Yeah. It's like free money, and it's not free money. It's debt."
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. I mean, my goodness. And that's abusing the ignorance of young people, especially.
That's right.
And you're
So
setting them up to fail, and they've already got probably a student debt on top of that, and you're just enslaving them to debt.
exactly. They become slave labor to credit issuers from the time they graduate college for decades or for the rest of their life.
You're exactly right. And some people, if they don't have the proper training and understand the basics of the mindset of the wealthy, they will always be having more month than they got money.
I've lived that. I lived that for years till I finally figured out how to solve it. And what you're talking about, the attitudes of the wealthy, is right on track from the standpoint that as a certified financial planner, I was taught how to help other people protect or enhance their wealth, but there was no instruction on how to create it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's when I'm broke in age 50, I'm realizing 2 divorces and a business failure later, I need to know what wealthy people are doing. And that's what I started studying. And one of the concepts is 5,000 years old. And the funny part about it is most people have heard it. And before I even tell you what it is, I want to create a distinction between the mindset of the wealthy and the mindset of ordinary people. When ordinary people hear something familiar, like what I'm going to say, versus wealthy people, ordinary people will make a statement like, I've heard that before. That's not new to me. I know about that. Those are statements. A wealthy person, when they hear familiar information, instead asks questions like, where would that apply for me? Or how do I begin instituting that? Or who could help me with that? They ask the kinds of questions that people are taught in elementary school to write an article, who, how, when, where, why, stuff like that. They don't ask why questions. So leave that one out. But the point is, the wealthy mindset ask questions when they hear familiar information. So here's what I'm going to ask you. I said I used a 5,000-year-old secret to begin my wealth journey. Have you heard of the expression, pay yourself first? Okay. So that's all it is. It's not just knowing it, it's practicing it. And that's what I started doing at age 50.
Yeah.
For every dollar that came into my life, I set aside 10% to invest. And I was only earning $5,000 a month. That's why the title of the book is Wealth on Any Income. And the title of my podcast and the title of my programs, Wealth on Any Income. $5,000 a month. I take 10%, that's $500 a month. I invested that. 3 years later, I've got $18,000. I invested that with my wife and another person, because I say wealth creation is a team sport, not a solo sport.
Right.
We bought a little triplex. My 18,000 in 6 years turned into 125,000. And what I did, this is another thing wealthy people do, they use debt to create wealth. I borrowed money to make down payments on more apartment buildings with my wife and this realtor. And in 8 years, we had 50 units, 50 apartment units we owned and managed from the 3 units I started with $18,000. So I went from broke at age 50 to a multimillionaire by using concepts that are 5,000 years old and not doing it by myself.
Because normally what everybody does, you hear the term pay yourself first, but then when the money comes in, the first thing they start doing is paying everybody else.
Exactly.
Paying bills.
Yeah. You don't buy the groceries with it. You don't pay the rent with it. You don't make a car payment with it. You set it aside to keep for the rest of your life, because that will create the passive income so you can choose to work instead of having to work.
Exactly. And that should be your reward for rewarding you for your sweat equity, your hard work, all the things that you put into that.
Exactly.
I mean,
so you're talking, you were talking about living on your per diem.
Yeah.
Because you were handling money effectively.
Oh,
But most people lack that skill because it's not been taught. You gain these skills first by being taught them and then practicing them.
Oh yeah, because I mean, just simple little things. In my particular case, I had so much for lodging, so I talked to this guy. I said, it's going to be there long term. He gave me a good rate, so I had a little kitchenette. So I went and got groceries and put in the refrigerator and all that because it's healthier, it's cheaper, and it's so convenient to eat what you want when you want. And it's a win-win situation. Of course, I don't go out to drink or anything like that. So I had money left over. So I just, and then I wanted to buy a new shirt and I saw a cashmere sweater and I thought, wow, I used to have a cashmere sweater years ago. I think I'll buy this and able to pay cash for it, And that's treating yourself for, being responsible to yourself. It really is.
Absolutely right.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's the reason. Those kinds of things that I finally learned and practiced at age 50 is what allows me to give away 100% of the profits from teaching other people how to handle money.
Wow.
Because I don't need it to live on. I have passive income from apartment buildings, triple net leases, peer-to-peer lending, oil and gas, you name it. And I guess that's another secret of the wealthy. They are not limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Right. Yeah, they diversify. They got a strong base. They don't put all their eggs in one basket, as the old saying goes. And you were saying that, your tenants and all that, they were able to keep on keeping on?
Exactly, because one of the things that I do for every one of my tenants when they move in, of course, I've got proper screening. I want to make sure they have secure jobs. They've got some reserves in case something goes wrong. And I give them a copy of my book. Every one of my tenants has a copy of my book. And many of my tenants have moved out and bought their own home after being renters with me.
Now, that's the road to freedom right there. That's the road to freedom. And so many people are looking at the wrong source for their quote unquote security.
Yeah.
And that's that way you stay enslaved to the plantation. Let me put it like that, because you do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have the money to get out of sight, you're not going anywhere, and no one is going to help you until you learn how to help yourself. And you mentioned your book. Do you have a copy of it handy so you pull it up in front of the screen?
Oh, yeah, actually, I do. Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, hold it up there.
There we go.
Wealth on Any Income. And someone out there would like to buy that book or whatever, get their hands on it. How could they do that?
Well, there's two ways. They could buy the copies that were published 20 years ago when I first wrote it at Amazon. But if they get it from my website, 100% of the purchase price goes to the charity Shelter to Soldier. And if they're in the US, I'll ship it for free. And if they're outside of the country, they can get a PDF copy.
I see. That's great. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing because you're right. People are not taught anything about that. No. Anything about money or how to manage or anything. I mean, but the sad part of it is money is I'm not an expert, so I can't only imagine, but I think money tops the list of most of the arguments between husbands and wives.
Well, actually, statistically, you are correct because I know about it. We published a book. The first book out of a publishing company I had was called Couples and Money, written by Dr. Victoria Felton Collins. And she provides the solutions on how to handle money and have safe conversations between couples. But it is the number one cause of divorce.
And it's preventable too, because the two people, deep down inside, I imagine they still love each other. It's just this money thing has become such a problem in their lives. It just creates so much friction that, they can't really communicate. And that's what causes Splitsville.
Exactly. And the difficulty is it's like the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Right.
There's a lack of communication over the money from the standpoint of goals and attitudes and history. Like, the wife was raised in a family that handled money one way. Husband could have been raised in a family that handled the money differently. And so they each think they're right. And they don't even know what the other is thinking or what their attitudes are.
Oh, yeah. Because I remember when I was in sales, asking someone, what their budget is like, how much they could afford. The very first thing the guy would do if his wife is set in this direction is go, look at her. Because
Yeah.
she's the one that, managed the household. Because he
Yeah.
didn't have a foggy clue. I'm not knocking you guys out there. I mean, I was in the same boat for many years. I'm just saying that's just the way the world for us turns. I mean, if you spend her money without her consent, you're going to do some. You're going to do some hard time in the hacienda, brother. That freight train is coming, so you might as well get on off the track because it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. And I've even seen households where it's the opposite, where the husband, he's taking care of all the money and the wife is clueless. She doesn't know she doesn't even know what bank the checking account it comes from.
Oh yeah,
And then the husband dies and
Mhm.
it's sort of like they're clueless about
They're lost.
everything and anything that has to do with the money.
Oh yeah, because I can't remember who they were, but I remember here the last couple of years, a husband, he died, and it became known that the wife just that she didn't know anything about the finances. He took care of everything, and my goodness gracious, think about the loss of her husband. Now she's got the worry of not knowing her financial future.
Yeah, at all.
And she don't even know how to. She don't even. Well, I guess anybody knows how to write a check. I guess I don't know, but I mean, she. Other than that, that was the end of her street.
Yeah.
She could not see whether the street went on or went this way or that way or what. She was just totally lost. And the pitiful thing about that too is that she had to rely on others, and that is very, very dangerous because you can find someone who has their heart in the right place, who is focused on, taking care of you. But there's also a lot of them out there that say, hey, I could skim some here and skim some there, and she wouldn't know the difference, or he wouldn't know the difference anyway.
And there's plenty of people out there just like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. And those people don't even think anything about when they rip off someone like that.
No,
And it's
no
pitiful.
conscience.
Yeah, and 100% of that's all avoidable
Oh,
with
yes.
just simple knowledge.
Yeah. A willingness to
Mhm,
learn and understand.
mhm.
And you don't even have to do it as an example. Okay, because I know how to balance a checkbook doesn't mean I have to do it. Or because if I know how to use QuickBooks doesn't mean I have to do it,
Mhm.
but
Right.
I understand it. When my assistant writes the checks or makes the entries in QuickBook, I can analyze it and know what's going on, but I
Mhm.
didn't have to be the person sitting at the computer putting it in there.
You're exactly right because when I own my business, my manufacturing business, we use QuickBooks. And the thing I like about it, you make an invoice, the inventory is credited, is it
Yeah.
debited or credited, whatever it is one of those two. It's reduced, and the accounts receivable is increased with just one click.
Yep.
And I'd get a report on, accounts receivable, accounts payable. I'd look at it, and I'd be automatically informed on what was going on. And then I could make a decision, go on. Like you said, you don't have to be okay. It's okay. What does this program open up and this and that? You don't have to worry about that because if you have the knowledge at your fingertips and you know how to use it's just like like cranking up a car.
Yeah, exactly.
A car engine has a specific firing order per piston. Piston 2 may fire before piston 1
Yeah,
or whatever. But you don't need to know that to crank it up and drive it down the street.
exactly. It's sort of, I don't need to know how the engine works to turn the key on and drive somewhere
That's right.
any more than I need to understand the details of electricity. If I want light, I turn on a light switch.
Yeah. And I laugh about that because when you talk about electricity, I've been shocked a few times. So it's you don't want to hire me as an electrician. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, is that where our life? I don't know. See, yeah, it's life.
Yeah.
Rather than just taking an ohm meter and checking it. I'm a guy. You want to take the shortcut? Okay.
Yeah, I'll hold these two wires together. See if it's alive.
I don't do that anymore at age 70. But back when I was young and good looking, I used to, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Ouch. That thing. Because I knew it wasn't going to kill me or anything. But, it's just being a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Slow in between the ears. You get by on your good looks and dumb luck.
Yeah. Or duct tape and bubble gum.
Oh man, duct tape. Duct tape used to be known as racer's tape. Did you know that?
No, but I believe it.
Yeah, because the wheel rates on the race cars, the rims,
Mm-hmm.
they duct tape them on, so if it'd be harder for them to come off during the race in case they bump tires or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Oh,
racer's
funny.
tape. Yeah, it's got 100 million uses. I mean, with duct tape, man, we could solve all the problems in the world, right? But when someone reads your book, you give it to a lot of your tenants.
Yes. Everyone, not a lot. Everyone.
Oh, everyone. Okay, I'll stand
Everyone.
corrected. And of all the tenants that you've helped and are able to pay their bills and all that, does one kind of like come to mind? It says, "Wow, the light bulb went off." I imagine all of them
Yeah.
did. But
Yep. Yep.
could you share an incident about that, please?
Someone came to one of my apartments. He rented from me for a couple of years. I gave him a copy of the book. He would ask me questions about what was in the book because he actually read it.
Mhm.
He talked about rental real estate, which is multi-unit properties, which is what I favor, not single-family houses.
Right.
And he got back to a year after he moved out of my building. He reached out to me by email to say, guess what, Rennie? I am so happy that I was able to rent from you. You gave me the book. I bought a 3-unit property. And I don't remember if he said he was living in one of the units or not, but the point is he was building a real estate income producing portfolio.
Mm-hmm. That's really something. That's really great. And that's the kind of people that you love to help, because when you help others like that, it just comes right back to you.
Oh yeah. And he's the kind of person who would be passing on what I gave to him to other
Mhm.
people he runs into. In other words,
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to be a renter and now I own this building. You can do the same thing.
Mm.
Yeah, hey, I failed high school math. So my belief is if I could do it, anyone can.
There you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're running a little bit late here. I mean, as far as a commercial, I got to stop here and we got to do a little commercial here to help pay the bills. We'll be right back right after this brief message.
The 6-minute webinar allows you to create a marketing product in a fraction of the time that it would typically take to create a webinar. And when you follow the simple process, you will provide laser-focused content to your ideal customers. And the nice thing is, it's repeatable for any product or service that you offer. My name's Rich Parsons, founder of Higher Calling Consulting, and creating my own 6-minute webinars has allowed me to have a 24/7 marketing presence for my ideal clients. So I encourage you to make the 6-minute webinar part of your business marketing strategy too.
That was so funny. I got to interrupt you, Jim, but to see that you're connected to 6-minute webinars, here's the funny part about it is you and I connected for this TV show. I had no idea that you had anything to do with the 6-minute webinar, but your partner, Bill Heinrich, is in one of my mastermind groups. I attended the boot camp this past weekend for 6-minute webinars. Purchased the program. I already have one, and I can't believe how great it is. Mine is 4.5 minutes, but the point is I'm actually producing content and sales information and have the ability to enroll someone to set up an appointment with me from a 4.5-minute webinar. It's amazing.
It really is. And like I tell people, and I use this same analogy over and over and over because it's something that someone can relate to. The lady that I call the ka-ching lady is Stephanie Dwayne. We first did the 6-minute talk and she got it. Don and I, we just did it just because we wanted to give people some time to get on stage and just do a short talk. We were speakers. And she kept telling us, says, hey, when are you going to do that 6-minute talk again?
Mm.
We're going to, and then after the pandemic started, we created this little show, which went from Zoom and Facebook Live. We got invited to now we're on E360 TV and we're broadcasting all over the world. But she brought it to us again. And then Don was doing a class and he called Bill and he says, what'd you think of the class? And Bill says, that reminds me of that 6-minute talk we did out in Phoenix in October of 2019. We need to do this in a webinar series. And the way it is, like in Stephanie's case, she's a clinical hypnotist. She helps people quit smoking. She helps people lose weight. She helps people with anxiety, all sorts of things. And in the past, she used to use the shotgun effect. I do this, I do that, I do the other. Right. And people do that. People want to say, it's kind of like, telling people that go into a buffet who are vegetarians about all the different meats you got there,
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of like, we don't even want any of this at all. But like in her case, in the first sentence, you've attracted your ideal clients because you want to talk personal to one person.
Yep.
And that's what attracts, people to you. And it also does another beautiful thing. It repels all the people that you can't help. For example, using Stephanie as an example for, like, say, lose weight, if I can understand that, during this 6-minute webinar, I will share with you 3 proven ways that you can lose weight. Boom, right there. People that's interested in losing weight, three proven steps, 6 minutes, okay, because people value time more than they do money.
Absolutely.
And just the other night before last, there was an email that came in and I kind of looked at it and said, okay, so I clicked on it. It's typical webinar. Guy goes on for 20 minutes about who he is, and he went to Harvard. I'm not knocking anybody goes to Harvard, but you're not telling me anything of what's in it for me, because you come to a webinar, what's in it for me? Are you the guy or girl that can solve my problem?
Exactly.
Or ease my pain?
Do you even know what my problem or pain is?
Yeah. I mean, I got a high school diploma and I got several other diplomas and things like this, but I mean, is this show and tell or what? I mean, it's just amazing. And, I was really blown away because you were put on not the hot seat, but it was kind of like a hot seat. You volunteered?
Yeah, I did. I volunteered.
Yeah.
I got such value out of that. It was amazing. And I've been working for years to create the level of clarity so that I can actually do that and end up with more clarity.
One of the things, Rennie, that people come to us, and this kind of falls in this category of what we're talking about here, is that people would come to our organization and we'd ask them, what is it you want to do? I want to make money.
Yeah.
No. That's the reward of your efforts. What can you do to help others in their hour of need? Is it a book that you wrote? Do you have a coaching program? Do you have a product? What is it? And a lot of them, they would create a product or, some type of coaching program, whatever it might be, and they try to sell it. It doesn't work. So they go create another one and just keep spinning the wheels like that. And it all starts with clarity in the mind. In fact, if I may, I'd like to share, let's see, I got it here somewhere. Bill Heinrich has a free ebook on clarity. And you just go to myfreebook.me, myfreebook.me. And Rennie, Bill, I mean, number one, the email is definitely safe. Number two, he's not going to be chasing you down trying to say, hey, how'd you like my ebook? And guess what else I got for you? I mean, you need people in your life like that. Like I say, like a hog needs a side pocket. Bill is all about clarity. Bill's all about helping people. And he's a high-level business coach, and he's so busy right now. I mean, I get to talk to him maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So he's not going to be chasing you down trying to sell you sell you some kind of a course. So yeah, just go to myfreebook.me and it's there. And you can download it in an ebook form. And I'm telling you, it will help you.
And I wrote that down. And at the same time, I also realized, well, I'm kind of guilty of that. When someone gets, let's say, a free roadmap to financial choice from me, or they watch my TEDx talk, they're going to get 4 or 5 emails over the next week or 2 weeks
Mhm.
asking them to do something more than that.
Mhm.
And, I'm not going to talk them. I'm going to chase them, but they will get some emails. And
Mhm.
after that, I send out an email once a week, every Sunday, with my musings about attitudes of the wealthy or the
Mhm.
myths that people buy into that keep them broke.
Mhm.
So, hey,
Well,
I just want to stay connected.
in your case, Rennie, I got to come to your defense because there's people out there need to understand the mindset of wealth
Yeah.
because
Oh,
they get there's people out there, selling all these different things and trying to share all these different things, but they don't get right down to the root cause of what keeps people broke.
no.
And you talk about wealth on any income. I mean, you're singing a lot of people's songs out there, especially people through the pandemic. They've been through that. And goodness gracious, I got to put your website up here again there. Let's go to your website there,
Yeah.
wealthonanyincome.com. I mean, that's a great place to start. My goodness
Yeah.
gracious. And what little bit I learned about you, because we didn't know each other. In fact, you didn't even
No.
know I was on planet Earth. You might have saw my name there, but I didn't say anything because I'm in the radio and TV end of the industry. Because we do have we got everything under one roof. We got Scale Pathway, which helps you create your product, all the training and all this stuff there. Then we got the 6-minute webinar. Don and Bill work together on those. Don's more responsible for Scale Pathway. Bill is responsible for 6-minute webinar. And I'm the guy that has the radio and TV show. And a lot of people don't know that my radio show is all on many different platforms. We've been downloaded on podcasts that we've never even heard of before. I never heard of Listen Tunes or Castbox FM or anything like that, Radio Public. And these people, they go to the big boys like iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google Podcasts. They figure, well, if this show's there and they're getting all these downloads, they do what's called harvest. They'll pull that show, which is the RSS feed.
Yep.
That's your individual identification code, and they'll plug it into their podcast. So when you upload it, they get uploaded too. It's a win-win situation for everybody. And my point being is that, getting on all these different podcasts and getting the word out there, I mean, this is really critical because we have guests on there that share great information like Rennie does here. That's what makes the show great. Has nothing to do with the host. I'm being honest. And, I use this example a lot, but it's something that people can understand. And that is when you tune in to like America's Got Talent. If you watch that show, if you're familiar with it, you tune in for the entertainment.
Yeah.
You know who the hosts are. Their job
Yeah.
is just to make sure things flow. So with that, I'm going to hush and let you talk.
Well, okay. So we talked a lot about one of the secrets of the wealthy, and that's attitude.
Mhm.
And I have a little acronym to remind myself and others of the 3 secrets. And it's AFI, which has nothing to do with the American Film Institute.
Right.
It has to do with the 3 secrets. And the A stands for attitude. And we've been talking about that. Now, the F stands for forms. And we've touched on that a little bit in terms of how do you figure out how much is coming in and going out and where's it going? And the budgeting forms. The wealthy look at that in a little bit different way than ordinary people.
Mhm.
Like on the left side of an income and expense sheet, someone might put their paycheck. Well, guess what? For a wealthy person on the left side, it's all the different sources where their money is coming from. It's not just a paycheck, or it may not even be a paycheck. It's royalties, it's interest income, it's dividend income, it's partnership income, it's syndication income. It's a whole host of things. Maybe they have a multi-level network income. It could be so many other things. They're not limited to a paycheck. As an example, last year, I didn't even bother taking a paycheck. There wasn't any point. I had plenty of money. I didn't need to take a paycheck from the corporation. So if someone says, well, how much do you earn? Well, if they're talking about a paycheck, nothing. So if someone sued me, they're not going to get much. But the point is, wealthy look at these forms differently than ordinary people. And so that's the F in AFI. And the I stands for investments, which we touched on. They're not limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. It's limited partnerships, it's syndication, peer-to-peer lending, oil and gas, apartment buildings, office buildings, tax lien certificates, triple net leases, on and on and on. And so those are the three secrets that the wealthy have that most people are unaware of. They have a different mindset. They look at the forms that you and I may see differently, and they're not limited to the kinds of investments that people think, oh, all I need to learn about is the stock market. Not correct.
Absolutely. Because I see what you mean there. A lot of people, they want to put their, go from one single source to another single source and put all their eggs in one basket. And that's risky.
Yes.
That's very risky, because the wealthy, what little bit I know about them, they seem to invest in a lot of different things. So if one source dries up, they're still balanced.
Oh, absolutely right.
They'll just cut that source off and find another source to replace it.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost money. Believe me, I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in investments that didn't pan out. But you know what? That doesn't take away from my wife and I being able to travel, except for COVID. Doesn't take away from our ability to buy food or groceries or pay the utility bills.
And isn't it wonderful to know that, I'm kind of blessed too in that regard, due to my hard work and sweat equity in life. My bills are paid for before I even get out of bed in the morning.
Warren Buffett has the quote that says, if you can't earn money while you're sleeping, you'll work for the rest of your life.
That is so true.
So you and I get out of bed every morning, and I could look at the checking accounts and see how much money was added to it. And I didn't have to do anything.
Oh, yeah. And that is a sweet, sweet feeling that never gets old, isn't it?
Never gets old. Exactly.
And it never goes out of style either.
No, I mean, it amplifies how blessed I am from when I had to collect soda bottles and cans to get the refund money to buy food.
Yeah.
And not worrying about anything.
It's kind of like that old saying, sometimes where you stand depends on where you were forced to sit. And you knew what that was like, and you knew what others are going through.
Exactly.
And people who are worried about, that may have been laid off during the virus and all, and people's lost their jobs, and people who are, strapped. I mean, they go to your website there, they can get the book. Let me put your website back up there and talk a little bit more about your book, sir, if you would, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. It's broken up into two parts. The first third really is the attitudes that people need to adopt to use the latter 2/3 of the book, which is all the tips and techniques. Because the bottom line is, if I don't get rid of the blocks that people have about handling money. Let me give you another quote from Warren Buffett.
Okay.
He said, of the billionaires I have known, money just brings out the basic traits in them. If they were jerks before they had money, they were simply jerks with $1 billion. And if I don't deal with the attitudes of people fearing creating wealth, then the latter 2/3 of the book is a waste of print, paper, and my energies.
Yeah.
So the first third of the book has to deal with those attitudes. Where did they come from? How do you overcome them? And now you can put to use the education that I put in the latter 2/3 of the book.
Once you get your mind properly fertilized for good information, that's really what it is, because your mind is just like good fertile ground. You can put bad things in there and it'll grow. You can put some good things in there and it'll grow. And if you prepare your mind, kind of like preparing the mental soul, and you put the good stuff in there, it's going to grow.
Exactly.
And that's what people are hungry for nowadays, because people are looking for, ways to get out of the situation they're in. And I know for a fact that the virtual world is here to stay. Streaming TV is just growing exponentially.
Yeah.
I mean, even I was kind of surprised that NBC did not get into Peacock. They have a streaming TV show channel called Peacock. I didn't realize they were kind of slow dragging their feet. They didn't start that till about It wasn't last year during the virus. I mean, they were real. I mean, what were you guys doing? Asleep at the wheel or what? Because everybody, how many years has people been known for, snipping the cable?
Oh, years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're talking NBC. I mean, I'm not knocking them. I hope I don't get a letter from NBC. If I do, I know savvy English or something. But it's really amazing how slow that they were. But there's a lesson in that. Some of the people that you think are on top of their game, sometimes they do not know what you think they know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk about people you think would be on top of their game, you look at some of the quotes from people in industry like it was Harry Warner, who said, "Who the hell wants to hear actors talk?" If it wasn't for his brother Jack, Warner Brothers would not have been making talkies.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Ken Olson, I think it was, who was the president of DEC Computers, said there's no reason for anyone to have a computer in their home.
Wow.
President of DEC Computer. I mean, so just because someone's at the top of their game does not know what's going on next.
I remember back in the early 80s hearing the story, that compact computer, they drew up their original business plan, and I'm going to be paraphrasing this a little bit. But they drew it up basically on a napkin, sitting in a coffee shop, just talking. The initial talk, not the game plan, but the initial talk, the initial idea, I should say. And then there was a disagreement in the direction that they wanted to go. The original owner wanted to go more into the established computer for businesses, and they wanted to go into the PCs. And and he got kicked out. I mean, it just goes to show you that just because you're in a level of respectability and you're up there and you think, wow, this person knows how to part the Red Sea and lead us all into the promised land, you better take a lantern and a compass.
You're going to need it. Exactly. It's funny. The name escapes me right now, but he was the president of IBM in 1943. And his statement was the whole world could support, count them, 5 computers.
Wow.
This was the chairman of IBM. The world could support 5 computers.
My goodness. And the sad part of it is because of the area or not the position of responsibility that they hold, a lot of people took that as gospel.
Exactly. And then you get someone like Steve Jobs, who's got different visions and can convince other people of his vision and change the world.
Yeah. And, and I know some people, they looked at him like he was either a nut or a renegade.
He was probably both, but but he still had the right vision.
Yeah, exactly. And you may be sitting out there and you may have an idea, you may have a patent in your mind or whatever. We only got about a minute left, so I better hurry up.
Oh, yeah.
But my goodness gracious, time has flown. But if you got a dream, you got a patent or whatever, do go to myfreebook.me and download Mr. Bill's ebook on clarity, free of charge, myfreebook.me, and get in touch with Rennie. And his website is Rennie at wealthonanyincome.com.
And by the way, I have a free summary of my book, 3-page summary of my book. So if someone doesn't want to buy it, can't buy it, they can get a free summary.
There you go. Rennie, thank you so much for being with us on the show. The time flew. We had fun, and we talked about a lot of people. We might get in trouble, or I might get in trouble. But anyway, we've had a lot of fun. Most importantly, thank you for sharing some valuable, encouraging information for the folks out there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone, and we thank you so much for tuning in. And our show will be recorded, be edited, downloaded, and then uploaded into YouTube at Messages of Inspiration and Hope. And that's a little YouTube channel I created, so I know it'll be there. But anyway, thank you again, and please share this information with someone you know that would love to hear it, needs to hear it, and is hungry to hear it. I'm Jim Grant on behalf of Rennie. Thank you so much. Give you a chance to wave goodbye. Thank you, Rennie, so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jim. My honor.